Hello and welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute-a-day podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse, recorded here in the dining room of the Bible Bistro, located in Sharonville, Ohio. Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro, and boy, have we got a good one today. Psalm 68. Now, we're just doing part 1 this week, but today we're looking at verses 8 through 11. Now, we began with verse 1, which was a quotation from Numbers chapter 10. Numbers chapter 10 is when the people would rise up on their march in the wilderness. Moses would say, "Let God arise, let his enemies be scattered, let them also that hate him flee before him." And then when the ark would rest at the end of the march, there was another devotional thing that they would say, "Return now, O Lord, unto the thousands of Israel." We have that quote, which begins our little march through this psalm about the majesty of God. And we had that contrast created in verses 1 through 4. We had the character of God described to us in verses 5 through 7 yesterday. Now today in verse 8, after the Selah, after we've thought about all that wonder of God and his character, we come now to verses 8 through 11. And actually 8 through 14 is very much like Judges chapter 5. If you go back to Judges chapter 5 and you read the Song of Deborah after the victory over the kings of the north, the Jabin and so forth, you're going to find a lot of similarities, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Let me go ahead and read this for us. "The earth shook, the heavens also dropped at the presence of God. Even Sinai itself was moved at the presence of God, the God of Israel. Thou, O God, didst send a plentiful rain, whereby thou didst confirm thine inheritance when it was weary. Thy congregation hath dwelled therein. Thou, O God, hast prepared of thy goodness for the poor. The Lord gave the word. Great was the company of those that published it." So that's verses 8 through 11. You'll notice, again, the presence of God is repeated over and over. This is all about his majesty, about his presence in the world, amongst his people, and against the wicked. All of this is so wonderful. And of course, when David goes out to Judges chapter 5 and he adopts some of the language that we find there in Deborah's song for this song, well, then we know that, David, he's looking for other places that he can incorporate to tie this all together, tie this whole theme of God's majesty, going all the way back into Deborah's day, to the day in which David is writing. So we have here in verse 8, "The earth shook, the heavens also dropped at the presence of God. Even Sinai itself was moved at the presence of God, the God of Israel." So that's Judges chapter 5, verses 4 and 5. You'll find those exact words there. And of course, Deborah, when she writes that, she's thinking about, the wilderness march, when Sinai did drop, was moved at the presence of God, because we know that Sinai itself smoked like a furnace when God came down. So she's recalling what happened, with Moses and the people in the wilderness. She's applying it to what happened in her day when God moved and everything shook. And David now is applying it to his day as he's bringing up the ark. And he's saying, at the presence of God, everything is going to shake, because here they're carrying the ark up to Jerusalem. Verse 9, "Thou, O God, didst send a plentiful rain, whereby thou didst confirm thine inheritance when it was weary. Thy congregation hath dwelt therein. Thou, O God, hast prepared of thy goodness for the poor." Again, go back to Judges chapter 5, and you're going to find that the Song of Deborah compares very nicely with this. And then also here in 11, "The Lord gave the word, and great was the company of those that published it." Look in Judges chapter 5, verse 14. The people of Zebulun were men ready with a pen, ready to publish the blessings of God. Well, join me again tomorrow. We're going to look at verses 12 through 14 here on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. For more fresh and delicious Bible studies, podcasts, books, and more, check out the Bible Bistro online and on YouTube. Join me again next time for Daily Dose Radio.